So when you talk about the task switching and not being able to focus on more than 1 to 2 things at a time, and that kind of just being a fact based off of the professionals and their
Yeah.
research, I find that a lot of people feel like they're the exception to the rule. So they
Mm.
might be like, well, sure, this brilliant guy at MIT and thinks this one thing, but he's never seen me work or he's never seen me juggle, and I can do it because I'm a high performer. How do you get through to those people? Because I find that we attach our abilities to our identity. So, like, I identify as this very high functioning person that can multitask, and that's why I'm a C-suite level person at my company. So there's obviously a lot of ego attached to that, and I feel like anytime there's ego attached to anything, it's really hard to break through that. So, how do you create change? Because you could do regulation all day long, but if someone is fighting it, it's not going to help them. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's a really good point. I think it's a bit like, weirdly, the point about Lenore and intellectually explaining it to people only gets you so far. They have to actually see it. So I would say to those people who say, I'm really great at multitasking, and I used to say that,
Uh-huh.
give yourself a week where you don't do it.
Mhm.
And honestly come back and tell me whether your focus got better and whether your
Mhm.
performance improved, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
one of the things I did for the book, as you know, Candice, is I went completely offline for 3 months. I had no internet for
Mhm.
3 months. After
Sounds amazing.
came, it's funny because I came back from Memphis, this trip with my godson, and I was just so horrified, and I was so tired of being wired. You know, I'd been basically online for 15 years by that point. I was in a lucky position. The film rights for one of my previous books had sold, so I had some money,
Mhm.
and I thought, fuck it, I've had enough of this. So I decided to. I booked a room in a place called Provence Town in Cape Cod. And I just went away for 3 months. I left my laptop. I didn't have a laptop that could get online, and I left my smartphone in Boston with my friend Shailene, and I just got out of there. Right, I literally fled them on a boat. Right, and and lots of things happened to me in Provincetown in those 3 months. But and there were actually many changes I later realized I'd made that improved my attention, not just separating myself from the tech. But I thought by then I was nearly 40. Right, I thought, you know, maybe I just got old, right? Maybe that's why I can't focus. My attention went back to being as good as it had been when I was 17. I could read books all day and not waver. I mean, it was staggering how much my attention came back. And then I remember just before I left Provincetown, the very last day I was there, I went to what's it called, Long Point, which is where the lighthouse is. And I looked back over the whole of Provincetown, and I was like, I'm never going to go back to the way I was. Why would I go back? This is amazing. The joys of focus are so great. I would just say to anyone listening, think about anything you've ever achieved in your life that you're proud of, whether it's setting up a business, being a good parent, learning to play the guitar, whatever it is. That thing you're proud of took a huge amount of sustained focus and attention. And when focus and attention break down, your ability to achieve your goals breaks down. Your ability to solve your problems breaks down. And when you get your focus back, your ability to achieve your goals and solve your problems so drastically improves. So I remember thinking, I'm never going to go back. I got my phone back, and within a month, I was 80% back to where I'd been.
Mhm.
And later, I learned how to build a lot of those improvements into my life at an individual level. But to be honest, I only really understood why I'd gotten so much worse when I went to Moscow to interview a guy called Dr. James Williams, who had been at the heart of Google, was horrified by what they were doing to people's attention. We can talk about why, if you like, quit, and became, I would argue, the leading philosopher of attention in the world. And he said to me, the mistake you've made by going to Provincetown is, I'm sure it was very nice for you, he said, but the mistake you've made is, it's like thinking the solution to air pollution is for you personally to wear a gas mask, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not against gas masks. If I lived in Beijing, I'd wear a gas mask. It's not a solution to air pollution, right? We've got to actually solve the problem. And at the moment, this is going beyond what he said now, but at the moment, what's happening is our attention is being destroyed by very large forces. It's like someone is pouring itching powder over us all day. And then that person is leaning forward and saying, hey, buddy, you might want to learn how to meditate. Then you wouldn't scratch so much. To which the logical response is, well, fuck you. I'll learn to meditate. That's great. We need to stop you pouring itching powder on me, right? So
Mhm.
there's sort of two levels at which we've got to tackle all of these 12 factors that are degrading our attention. The first level is, I think of them as defense and offense, right? We've got to defend ourselves and our children as much as possible. And I go through
Mhm.
dozens of things we can do in the book to do that. I'm passionately in favor of those things. But I also want to level with people. Those things will improve your attention. I'm strongly in favor of them, but they will only get you so far. Because we're living in what Professor Joel Nigg said we might want to ask, whether it's an attentional pathogenic environment, an environment that is undermining the ability of all of us to pay attention. And once you understand that, you realize, okay, we've got to fix the environment. That can sound very fancy, but I talk about very practical ways we can do that and places I went to that have begun to do it.
Yeah, because that does sound very overwhelming. And then it also sounds very insidious too when you say the intentional, right? The like
Yeah.
that descriptive, which it absolutely is.